Good evening, Yvonne. This is a proposal that has been drafted by Israel's intelligence ministry. It's a junior ministry within Israel's cabinet that does research, conducts a lot of research, but it doesn't necessarily have the power to action that research. But what it said it was researching was, proposals that would affect significant change for the civilian reality in Gaza. And what it has said is the most desirable outcome for Israelis and Israeli security is this idea to transfer Gaza's 2.3 million population into the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt. Now, understandably, across the Arab world, this has caused a lot of distress. From Egypt's perspective, they don't want the Gazan problem to become their issue. We can see that playing out in real time here in that the Egypt crossing between Gaza and Egypt is closed to people at the moment. Palestinians who would like to flee from Gaza physically can't close, and Egypt says it doesn't want 2.3 million refugees from Gaza to become Egypt's issue. It's also dredged up a lot of trauma for Palestinians, not just here, but also further around the world, reminiscent of what they say is incidents surrounding the 1948 creation of Israel, where hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were fled or were forced from their homes during the fighting surrounding the creation. So, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has kind of played down this report, has said that it was a hypothetical exercise, in their words, a concept paper, but it really does raise a lot of questions as to what the plan is for Gaza in the future.
Well, fears are growing that Israel has no plan agreed for post-war Gaza.
Yeah, so I was at a press conference yesterday with Israeli officials with the wartime cabinet, and that question was put to them directly. The day after the war ends, what does Gaza look like? This is important because Israel has said it will destroy Hamas. It wants Hamas completely destroyed and gone from this region. It's important to note, though, Hamas is not just a militant wing. It is also the government in Gaza. It runs the roads, it runs garbage collection, it runs the taxes, it runs the government there. So by Israel saying it is destroying Hamas, it effectively means that it is getting rid of the entire governance system in Gaza as well. When this question was put to Israeli officials yesterday about what would Gaza look like the day after the war ends, they couldn't answer it. Presumably, there will have to be some sort of governance situation in Gaza, but Israel at the moment says that they are not revealing what they expect that could look like. There are certainly a lot of questions around who could take over there, the Palestinian Authority, whether Hamas and the governance wing of Hamas merges into some sort of other authority. Those are all still questions to be played out, but it's very important because when we're talking about Hamas, we're not just talking about militants here, we're talking about a governance organisation as well. A terrorist organisation defined by Australia, but also, it has governance over Gaza and over the Gaza population.
Meanwhile, Israel is pushing on with Benjamin Netanyahu confirming that his country will not agree to a ceasefire with Hamas. What has been said on both sides?
Well, there's been a lot of calls from aid groups and world leaders that there needs to be some sort of a ceasefire, if not a complete ceasefire, at least a partial ceasefire to allow more humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip to help the millions of Gazans who are currently suffering through that worsening humanitarian crisis. In this press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu that I attended a few hours ago, and I should say that this is the first press conference he has given to international media since the war broke out. He was very emphatic that there would not be a ceasefire. In his words, he said that anybody calling for a ceasefire was effectively calling for Israel to surrender to Hamas. So I think it really sets the stage for what this war will look like going into the future. It's going to be long. Israel has already indicated that it will stay there until it eliminates Hamas. But when you hear those words from the Israeli Prime Minister, there will be no ceasefire, you get an understanding of the fact that this could take months, perhaps even up to a year, for Israel to resolve what it says is the operations on the ground there.
And Allyson, overnight we heard news from the IDF that they rescued one of the hostages being held by Hamas. Could this signal more rescues imminent?
Well, we don't know a lot of details around the rescue of this female soldier, Ori Megadesh. All that Israel has said is that she was liberated. That's the word that the military first used before then changing its language to saying she was released. We don't know if she was held in a Hamas tunnel, where we expect some, if not all, of these 230-odd hostages are being held. We don't know if she was perhaps in a building. There have been some suggestions that she was actually found near the borderline with Gaza and Israel. So we don't know the circumstances, apart from the military saying that she is now safely back in Israeli territory. She has been medically checked and she is fine. We saw some quite jubilant celebrations from her family as they were reunited near her home in southern Israel. But I think this underscores really for Israel why it says it has had to launch this ground offensive. Certainly rescuing a soldier is an enormous military achievement from Israel's perspective. A couple of years ago, they actually exchanged 1,000 Palestinian prisoners for one soldier being held hostage by Hamas in Gaza. So for them to have got one soldier back is a massive military win from Israel's perspective, and it really underscores why they say they need to be on the ground there. We've been hearing from where I am here in Sderot, and it's pretty hazy today behind me, but this is the skyline of northern Gaza, and we can hear constant airstrikes. I'm hearing an Israeli warplane going overhead today, and we've been hearing constant gun battles on the ground, which suggests that Israeli troops are actively engaged in gunfights with Hamas militants as they make their way through Gaza. And Israel says the hostages and trying to get more intelligence, locate and free those hostages is why they are now operating on the ground.
Allyson Horn in Sderot, thanks for that update.